Magnus Carlsen dominates the Blitz Chess opener in Norway, but will this carry over to his performance in the main event? We're joined by a special guest and looking ahead to give you the answer. And will we have a new U.S. champion, a first-time champion? Fabiano Caruana and Wesley So are tied for the lead heading into the first rest day. Mike Klein brings us all the updates from the action in St. Louis. And make sure you stay tuned for Time Trouble as we see whether or not Nigel Short finally gets what's coming to him from a female chess player. Serving chess news fresh daily with a side of humor and a sprinkle of Hess, it's ChessCenter.
Well, Danny, we had so much beautiful chess this week. We had Norway Blitz. We've got the U.S. champs going on. We have additional tournaments in Dubai and Bangkok. But coming out of nowhere is this epic 4-hour Blitz match, bullet match between Hikaru Nakamura and Eric Hansen of the Chess Bros.
Yeah, you know, what was best about this match that captured the attention of thousands of people online, both those who follow Hikaru Nakamura and who follow the Chess Bros channel, is that it was unscripted and unplanned. And maybe sometimes that's how the best chemistry on camera happens, right? A lot like our relationship, Sean, wouldn't you think?
Well, and much like the inappropriateness of that comment, the chat in the Chess Bros show was entirely out there. I would not recommend young children watching this.
No, certainly. We can't give the thumbs up for anybody under the age of 13 or maybe even 21. I feel a little dirty following the chat. But it was exciting to watch. At the end of this 4-hour epic battle, Sean, the score was 234.5 to 48.5 in favor of the reigning U.S. champion. And the rumor is it only ended because Hikaru Nakamura had to jump on a plane to St. Louis. Take a guess at how many rating points he won after winning a match by nearly 200 games.
Well, he's got a lot higher rating, so I'd have to give him maybe 20 or 30 points.
Right, you'd think, right? No, he lost 50 points at the end of the match. And that just shows you the separation he has between himself and many of the other best bullet players online, because Eric Hansen is one of the best bullet players on the planet. Ask anybody on any chess server. So really fun to see. Hikaru may have won more battles, but apparently Eric Hansen won the war in terms of rating points and earning himself some new fans and tips at his Twitch channel. So we encourage everyone to be on their toes for action like that happens on Chess.com and all over the web whenever two big heavyweights go at it, with all kinds of trash talking in the chat and awesome moves on the board. Joining us live from the Chess Club at Scholastic Center in St. Louis is FIDE Master Mike Klein. Mike, what's the update from the U.S. Chess Championships?
Danny, we're about halfway through. We're clear of the only rest day. And after 5 rounds, we have 2 leaders in the 2016 U.S. Championship. Grandmaster Fabiano Caruana, now number 2 in the world, playing in his very first championship. He's co-leading with 4 out of 5, thanks in part to a win over his big rival Hikaru Nakamura a few days ago. Tied with him is Grandmaster Wesley So, redeeming himself after a tournament full of tribulations last year. He played a romantic-era style checkmating attack against Grandmaster Varuzhin Akobian last round. Sacked a knight on f7, sacked a rook on g7. Really a fantastic game that is worth reviewing in our news section. A half point back is Ray Robson. Ray could have joined the leaders, except that he failed to win a knight upending going into the rest day against Alex Lennerman. If he had just played the move knight c2, he would have stopped all queenside counterplay. He ended with a draw, and so he's a half point back. Hikaru was still lurking. Hikaru's got 3 and is 1 point back. There are 6 games to play.
Wow, sounds like there's many players still with a chance, and nice to see Wesley be able to strike back and turn things around this year. What about the women's side of things?
Well, on the women's side, Danny, women's Grandmaster Tatev Abrahamian is really hungry for her first win. She's come close a couple of times losing in playoffs. She's told me personally how much it would mean to her, and she's led for most of the first half, except that she drew in round 5, allowing international master Nazi Pakizzi to pass her by a half point. Nazi has still never lost a game at the U.S. Women's Championship in 16 tries, so her consistency has earned her a half-point lead. Also tied on second place with Tatev is Grandmaster Irina Krush, who's kind of lucky to be there. She was dead lost. She was -5 against FIDE Master Alyssa Melkina a few days ago. But just a few moves before the time control, Alyssa did not find the right continuation, and that game ended in a draw.
Well, the best players do tend to get luckier than others from time to time. So tell me what the players did on the rest day as they now prepare for the final push in the second half.
Well, Danny, I was privy to a couple of players. I saw Ray Robson improve his tennis game. Backhand's looking a lot better. Tatev's second, Grandmaster Josh Friedel, is a killer at the net. I know, because he beamed me a couple times on some overheads. Fabiano Caruana played some basketball, and also all 12 women had an event at the World Chess Hall of Fame celebrating art and women in chess. They played some bullet, they played some blindfold, they played some blitz. They also played on Yoko Ono's chess set called Play It by Trust, where Danny, all 32 pieces were white. And in the middle game, you can't remember whose pieces are what unless you are a really strong player. So that was fascinating to watch.
Wow, well, it seems like a busy day of sport, and I'm sorry that these young guys are getting the best of you serving volley. That's always been Josh's game. Your game is bringing us news fresh daily, and you continue to deliver, my man. We will see you at the end of the tournament with another update on next week's Chess Center.
Thanks, Sandy. It was a pleasure.
After developing a very well-balanced, probably well-prepared attack against the former U.S. champion Gadakomsky, Wesley So unleashed a zinger after Komsky had to defend his h6 pawn here with the move king to h7. Wesley So brought the hammer down. Robert, tell everybody what it was and why it led to not the most obvious and straightforward, but a very, very difficult attacking position for Gada to defend.
Well, Danny, here Wesley just sacrificed a knight with knight hf5. The idea is simple: gang up on the h6 pawn. After Gada scooped up the knight on f5, Wesley simply took back on f5 with the knight. And here, Black had nothing better than to try to move like rook to e6, hoping that he could remove his knight back to the back rank and try to defend his king side. But it really wasn't working out for him after bishop takes h6, knight to e8, and the retreating move bishop g5. A huge issue for Black is that a move, as we see in the game, after bishop f6, trade on f6, queen takes f6, and then move d5, a fantastic shot, opening up the bishop on c2 to the king on h7. And after the retreat, rook e7, well, Wesley played the very calm move pawn to g4. The move g5 is unstoppable, and that picks up the rook on e7 for free. So Gadakomsky had to resign here, despite being up some material.
Yeah, and Wesley said after the game that he still wasn't 100% sure he was totally winning after d5, but once he saw g4, he felt very confident about it. We loved the attack from the beginning of the sacrifice, and just to back up one move, as you said, Black couldn't take here and relieve the pain coming to this rook because of the discovered attacks, as you pointed out. So really just a very well-balanced, well-prepared, well-coordinated attack, and a great way for Wesley So to shake off the demons of last year's U.S. Championship and to start this party off right. We'll see how he holds up toward the end of the event, but at least for this big win against the former U.S. champion, he gets our move of the week. Well, Sean, this week, it's not what everyone was talking about, but when they were talking about it. To start off, on April 13th, we had the celebration of the birth of, in my mind, still the greatest chess player of all time, that being world champion Garry Kasparov. A social media post that we started, blowing up the balloons and wishing him happy birthday, almost went viral and had just about everybody in the world wishing the former world champion their best on his great day. But there were a couple of other things that just happened to fall on April 13th. Tell everybody what those two things were and why it was so great to get all the eyeballs of, I think, the general world of social media on the chess world.
Well, we have two worthy additions to the Chess Hall of Fame. We get Gadakomsky in and Maurice Ashley as well. And then we have that beautiful HuffPost article about Maurice Ashley, detailing not only his exploits in chess, but a lot of his philanthropic work, about how he was able to spread out several different chess programs across the United States to help underprivileged youth, including a program in Ferguson, Missouri.
Yeah, well said. And Maurice's love from the HuffPost, as well as the induction into the Hall of Fame, certainly well-deserved. And just want to show everybody the coincidence, if you believe in fate or not, or just the random act of the unlucky number 13. But in this case, brought some luck to the chess world with all these interesting things happening at the same time. So maybe it's the legend of Garry Kasparov that just had all these things take place on one day, right? You think he has that much power?
I'm not sure if it's him or if the power of chess caused him to be born on the 13th. But it's definitely one or the other.
What came first? The Garry Kasparov or the April 13th, right? Hashtag you decide, hashtag freedom, hashtag your choice, hashtag segment done. Not that it really matters whether we call it featured or other news, but with Mike in St. Louis, that means Peter Dockers is on Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament duty, as well as other storylines hitting the chess press. Peter, what do you got for us?
Hey Danny, yeah, well, this tournament in Norway, the next super tournament, started on Monday with a blitz tournament. Bit of a tradition these days to determine the pairing numbers and which 5 players are getting five white games in the classical event. And well, I can say that it was all about Magnus Carlsen actually. Before in a press conference, he had stated that he wanted to show a better side of himself, and he surely did. He was dominating this blitz for the 8 rounds, 8 of 9 rounds actually, where he was on 7.5 points, and he won it with a round to spare.
Yeah, amazing to win it with a round to spare, dominant and fun for everyone to watch. But he didn't finish undefeated.
No, exactly. He actually lost that last round game to my compatriot Anish Giri, who did very well. Also, he finished clear second in the blitz. And so Giri is in excellent shape actually. And well, the next day he showed it because today the first round was played and Anish Giri started with a win. Bit of a surprise there because he had drawn his last 20 classical games, as we know, a long drawing streak. But he got rid of it and he's up there in the leaderboard.
Yeah, and the other 2 players getting wins, as we know, were Vladimir Kramnik and the world champion himself, defending his home turf well. But let's move on. I know that there were also 2 major open events that reached their conclusion this week. What were who were the winners, and what were the updates there?
Yeah, first let's mention the Bangkok Open, 16th edition this year. Every 2 years it's in the city center, and then the other year in Pattaya. But this year in Bangkok, and it was won by Surya Ganguly, former unannounced second, but on tiebreak. He finished on 7.5 points together with Paco Vallejo of Spain. And it was a nice revenge actually for the Indian, because last year he won his last round game against the tournament leader Wang Hao, but then saw Nigel Short coming by and winning the tournament actually on tiebreak, which is that was a pity for him. But now basically the same happened this year, but now he was on the winning side because Vallejo had a slightly worse tiebreak in the end. So a nice success for the Indian Grandmaster Ganguly.
Yep, interesting stuff there with tie breaks determining the top winners. But what happened in Dubai?
Well, a bit of the same actually. I must admit that I don't know the exact tiebreak situation over there. But what I do know is that the tournament was won together between Gawain Jones and Vladimir Akopian. And Jones did the important work today, basically, because after 8 rounds, the Russian Grandmaster Boris Savchenko was the sole leader, but Jones played him as white and he beat him. So and that was quite interesting to note actually, because a few days ago they also had a blitz tournament in Dubai, and Jones won that blitz tournament by beating Boris Savchenko in the last round. So a very funny coincidence there. And Jones was caught by 44-year-old veteran Armenian Grandmaster Akopian. So they tied for first place there.
Sad case of deja vu, though, for Savchenko. And we will have deja vu likely next week with you moving back to the featured news desk with all the updates from the Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament. Peter, have a great week, and we'll see you on next week's Chess Center.
Absolutely. Next week from Norway.
Well, Robert, as painful as it is to watch one of our titled player brethren, I'm not a grandmaster, but he's still my brother, make a horrible move like this. We do love a good train wreck on Chess Center. And in this position, Shilong Li Shilong played the move, queen to A1. Everybody cringed. I even cringe now and want to believe it's not true. But what did Shaka Khan Mamedyarov, as I like to call him, play here to just take the game home quickly?
Well, unlike the movie Trainwreck starring LeBron James and Amy Schumer, this one stars the Chinese Grandmaster Queen A1, a horrendous blunder, allowing the easy move Knight C2. That's a fork that, your newborn daughter could find, Danny. And after Knight C2, you're hitting the Queen on A1, the Rook on E1, and the Bishop on E3. So after Queen takes E5, well, Mamedyarov when Rook takes D1, and White threw in the towel because the Bishop on E3 is lost. And that's just a very, very simple tactic to overlook, Danny.
Yeah, and even though he was the underdog in this game against the Azeri Super GM, Li Shilong had played very well, and the position is complex, dynamically very equal with the 2 bishops versus the 2 knights. So this move really was just an inexplicable, taking a good position to a lost one blunder, and for that we had to acknowledge it as the worst move of the week, and probably a good enough move for a not top 10 you might even see later in our worst segment of things that happened in April. Making his ChessCenter debut today is special guest Grandmaster David Smirden, known to the fans of Chess.com and his blog as Smurfo. Very excited to have you here, David, but I'm going to hit you with a tough question right away. As we look ahead to the Altibox Norway Chess Super Tournament, is Magnus Carlsen finally going to win one?
Well, g'day Danny, and hello viewers. I've watched a couple of these ChessCenter things before, and I've always noticed how you and Sean seem to have bad luck with your predictions, so I was a bit wary about saying anything, but I'm going to bite the bullet and make a prediction here. It's a pretty safe one though. Magnus for the win. I mean, the guy has just been so dominant in recent tournaments. He's fresh as well because he's had some time off. It's in his hometown, and I just find that he's playing so much stronger at the moment than everyone else. Magnus, number one.
Well, he did just wrap up a dominant performance in the Blitz, and he's been on the sidelines watching the candidates, so maybe he's anxious, but I'm going to stick with the tough questions then. You're making what seems a safe prediction, but Magnus is still yet to win a Norway Chess Super Tournament. Sergei Karyakin taking the first year, and last year, Magnus, he didn't play very well at all. So why are the hometown bugs not going to affect him this time?
Oh, that's such an interesting question, because this hometown issue, it's quite controversial and up for debate in the Grandmaster world. As you mentioned, Magnus struggled in the first year. The second year was even worse. I mean, last year he even lost to his sparring partner, John Ludwig Hammer. It was a disaster for him. But this year, I think things are going to be different. To be honest, I'm not sure how much of a role home ground plays in chess to begin with. Interestingly, some top grandmasters like Peter Svidler have actually said that playing in your home ground can be a disadvantage because you've got a bit more pressure on you than you otherwise would have, as opposed to another sport like football or baseball where it might be considered an advantage. But I don't think it's going to affect Magnus too much. He had a couple of blips. Also at the Tromsø Olympiad, he also didn't play very well. That was also in Norway. But we just saw in the Blitz, he absolutely smashed the field. And I really just think that freshness that he has from not having played the candidates, combined with his zeal and enthusiasm for the game, as we saw in his Twitter feeds and Facebook, so forth, during the candidates, I think that he is ready and raring to go, and I think he's going to deliver.
All right. Well, I'm gonna round out the field for all the fans at home who may not know who are all the other players here, but we kind of have this interesting look where we have guys like Anish Giri, Levon Aronian, Veselin Topalov coming off the candidates. So will some of their preparation they didn't get to use play a part of a tournament like this? Who knows? But then you have guys with fresh legs, so to speak, right? Vladimir Kramnik, Maxime Vachier-Lagrave, two very, very strong grandmasters, probably the two strongest players who weren't playing in Moscow. But you don't have to go through the whole field, but tell me, if you look at everybody, who are your dark horse picks, or if you had to name one, who might be that person that might surprise the field?
Well, I got a good dark horse for you this time round, but before we get there, to your points just before, with Anish and Topalov coming off the candidates, Aronian as well, I do think fatigue is going to play a bit of a role, not just in terms of the mental energy. They've had some weeks to recover, but also the stress as well. I mean, this was a big chance for them, and the fact that it sort of passed them by, I think that's got to affect them to some extent. Probably it's going to affect Anish a little bit less than the others. He's a pretty cool customer. He's one of my adopted countrymen now that I live in Amsterdam. But even though the stress won't affect him, I feel that he just lacks a tiny bit of that fighting spirit at the moment to get him across the line. He seems to be a little bit more concerned with preserving half points than pushing all the way for the full point. In terms of the fresh legs, Kramnik, yeah, I think that he's a good chance. He also seems to be very enthusiastic about chess and ready and eager to get in there. And he had a very good Blitz tournament to start things off. Maxime, well, I have a lot of respect for Maxime, and he's been in the top 10 for so long now that he's about due. But he's not my dark horse, and neither is Kramnik. That's Li Chao, or Li Chao B as the FIDE rating list has him. Now, he's actually Karyakin's replacement and a last-minute call-in, but don't be fooled by that, because he's been slowly but surely increasing over the past 12 months at a steady upward trajectory. And he's now become the second strongest Chinese with a very chunky rating. He's also a great guy. I've spoken to him, nice, gentle personality. So it's hard to believe that for the last 2 years, he's struggled to get invites to tournament, which has largely actually been due to some conflict between him and the Chinese Chess Federation. But that seems to have sorted itself out now, which is really good for all parties concerned. And that seems to be reflected a little bit in his performance of late. Now, he's a really strong player. I had the misfortune of getting smashed by him when I played him in our one encounter, and I really have a lot of respect for his potential. So if you want a dark horse who might actually get across into the plus score range, who you might not expect at the start of the tournament, put your money on the Chinese.
Wow. Well, you're reaching deep with some of those stats and bringing some information I don't think a lot of people would know about, from his conflicts with the Chinese Federation to his rating performance showing steady increases. And I'm going to encourage everybody to check out your blog. Of course, you bring interesting and different angles all the time, and as you cover and watch top grandmasters play chess. So appreciate it. We look forward to more from you on ChessCenter very soon, David. And we'll see if your predictions hold up better than me and Sean.
Cheers, I hope so.
Sitting in for the U.S. Championship bound Mike Klein is Grandmaster Bobby Hess. We love having a GM in the house for an extra segment, but Robert, you ready for this fast-paced action?
Well, as we see in bullet brawls, I'm always ready for quick-paced action with you, Danny.
That's true. Put 90 seconds on the clock and let's rock this thing. Bobby Fischer's name recently resurfaced again for not the best of reasons in the Panama Papers. Does this tarnish his legacy any further?
No, I don't think so. He said and did crazier things in his lifetime, so this will just be a little blip on the radar. Speaking of tarnished legacies, Nigel Short's done his best to ruin his reputation with female chess players. Did he get what he deserved while Thai kickboxing?
Well, you know, what happens in Bangkok this time didn't stay in Bangkok, with lots of pictures everyone can check out. But I got to admit, the Englishman looked in a little bit better shape than I thought he'd be in, so who knows what actually happened in that match. But speaking of getting what's coming to them, the Ukrainian Chess Federation has now had their official ratings suspended until they pay the fee for the Women's World Championship match. Where's the money, and why haven't they paid this fee yet, Robert?
Well, perhaps they hid the money after Maria Muzichuk lost her match against Ho Yifan. But it's going to be very scary seeing Vasily Ivanchuk, Pavel Ulyanov, and Ruslan Ponomarev with unrated numbers next to their name.
Yeah.
On the flip side, how cool was it seeing the tweet and live action shots from the high school nationals as the seconds tick down?
It was amazing. We need more of these buzzer beater moments in chess to show just how exciting and intense those moments are. Congratulations to Mr. Tang, and even though it was just a scholastic national tournament, I thought showing this time trouble thing click down was really exciting and a great way to show just how intense chess can be. Now, speaking of winning tournaments, congratulating Tang, we also have to congratulate Helgi Ziska, who won the Small Nations Cup. But I have a question. Is it really that big of a deal, and does it really deserve a spot in the World Cup?
Well, I think it's a great thing. These nations are often left out of the picture, and, well, the winner of the tournament deserves a spot in the World Cup, so I like it. And on a somewhat different news, what about Josh Kohls cleared from cheating accusations, but what about the court of public opinion?
You know, it's interesting and sad that the whole thing happened, but of course he does get a Grandmaster norm, so at least he has that to take home with him, and regardless of what the court of public opinion believes, he's going to keep playing high-quality chess and keep rocking it. You rocked it here, Mr. Hess, sitting in for Mike Klein. We thank you, and we will see you on next week's Chess Center.